about the science fiction book.
Yes. So Escaping the Dashia is my first novel, but I wrote it when I was 15 years old. And back at that time, women in sciences and women in science fiction just weren't really a huge part of the market, of the hierarchy. There were very few, actually, there weren't any female editors up in the top magazines, very few in the bookstores. And that, thanks to people like Tamara Pierce and Anne McCaffrey, has broken through. But what I really like to talk about is, well, first of all, why I wrote this is because I do believe science fiction allows people to escape, and forget that that's a pun about escaping the Dashia, my title, but it does let you escape from reality for a little while. It does let you take a break from the pressures, and that's true of any pleasure reading genre fiction. But the other thing that science fiction lets you do is play with the what ifs. And, you know, science fiction was talking about the issues we're going to have with cloning cells to make organs long before we were doing that. Science fiction had the first interracial kiss, which was on Star Trek, back in a time when that just was not allowed. So it breaks a lot of barriers. And what we're hoping is, through a love of science fiction, we'll especially aim towards young adult. So if you know any teenagers, women teenagers, we're really hoping that having female protagonists, not just in dystopia stories like Hunger Games, will help to encourage an interest in the next generation of women in STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. Because if you get them interested, then things tend to happen. And just think about it. The cell phones that we came out with, those first flip phones, they were communicators from Star Trek. Star Trek had automatic sliding open doors before your grocery stores ever did. And almost every one of your astronauts, every one of your real science geeks, they were into science fiction as a kid because it's a conduit. So the other job I have, besides trying to sell my first book, is my day job, my bread and butter, is as a freelance editor. And I mostly work with aspiring writers who have something they want to say, but they're not a thoroughly accomplished author, and they need somebody to help them with the developmental aspects and to get it ready. Because some people may have heard the phrase, everybody has a book in them and that's where it should stay. I completely disagree with that. I think that writing is one of the most therapeutic things you can do. It can help vent things that you have no way of getting out of you. It can let you capture memories. Memoirs are huge right now, and memoirs of ancestors. People are writing the memoir of their grandmothers, their great-grandparents. Ancestry and all the records have made it fascinating, and it's a family legacy. And the other thing is, let's face it, God may have control of the universe, but he's granted us very little control over what happens day to day in the world around us. And writing is one of those creative outlets that for a little while, you have that absolute control. So I really, really love working with people who, like one of my clients, she hiked the John Muir Trail at age 50. That's 200 miles. And that breaks a lot of the stereotypes of what a 50-year-old woman can do. And so it's really very rewarding to help people put together a book and get them to the point where it's either ready to submit for traditional publishing or ready to self-publish and you not be embarrassed about it 2 years later.
Wow.
So that's me. I'm just going to put my website in the address. And I would love to talk to anybody about their writing projects. And my book, you can just Google Rebecca Inch-Partridge. and Escaping the Dashia. And I'm
great
the only
summary.
book that's going to come up. And I would love to hear what people think, because it is for inspiration. And so I like hearing how people react. And that's it.
It sounds like a great summer read, and I definitely put it on our summer list for the club. So thank you for sharing that. And yes,
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Rebecca.
thanks, Rebecca.
All right.
You're welcome.
You're watching the channel, and make sure you subscribe.